All right, can I begin, guys? Hello. So can you introduce the new members or the new guys? And then I'll introduce these guys.
So we got two guys that came to visit tonight. Hopefully they love it to the point they'll want to come back. Samuel, and your name? This is Thomas and Samuel. So I went to Coronado today, and I spoke with a couple of kids about our organization and what we do. These two came, and a couple of them were supposed to come today. Wasn't able to come because of transportation. But these two came, and we appreciate you guys. If it's okay with you two, can y'all want to say a little bit about yourselves to the group?
Where do I start? Where I was born?
No. We're just. I'm sorry. What school you go to? And I'm sorry about that, Samuel.
No, it's fine. No, I go to Coronado. Before Coronado, I used to go to Dunbar. And I have to go to. I went to Coronado. It was sad because I did wrestling, so I couldn't do wrestling anymore. But I'm trying to catch up in Coronado so I can go back to wrestling.
All right. We appreciate you for coming, Samuel. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Thomas? Okay, you good. And there's another thing too. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. We don't pressure nobody to say nothing, especially for first comers. We would like you to come again. So we don't pressure you to say anything. But thank you guys for coming to pick up the ball. We appreciate you guys.
Welcome.
All right, so I want to, some of you already know this, but I want to kind of give you a little bit of history about Pick Up the Ball. So back in 2015, so that was 2015. So that was around the summer of 2015 when I actually resigned from my architecture firm, sold my half of it, and I started doing Pick Up the Ball more. One of the things that the guys really liked to do back then was go to Crossover. So Crossover is, Jay goes there a lot. It's a ministry downtown on Jackson Street that is run by Matt Richard, and he used to do a thing on Friday nights where we'd go play basketball, and then he would go upstairs and he would share the word with us, and then we'd go down and we'd play for another half hour or so and go home. So that was usually our Friday nights. And there was one instance where they had invited Carmine Marceno, who's our sheriff, or currently our sheriff, and I was sitting there, and at the time it was Captain Marceno. He wasn't even under sheriff yet. He was just captain. And he came to the meeting. Matt had invited him to come speak, and while he was speaking, some of the guys were kind of rude to him, and they were actually very rude to him. And they said that they hated cops and that kind of stuff. This is in a church setting. So afterwards, I approached Carmine, who I didn't know at the time, and I said, I have an idea. What if we took a group of guys, and I was thinking my Pick Up the Ball guys, obviously. What if we took a group of the guys and sat down with a group of your guys, some sheriffs, and we just had a conversation. And the rules for the conversation would be, you can ask any question you want, as long as you really want to know the answer, and you're not just asking it to be funny. And it's asked respectfully. And so we ended up having a series of those meetings that went on for, I think, something like 6 months. I think we met once a month for quite a while. And that resulted in a really great relationship, not only between Carmine and myself, but also some of our guys and Carmine, some of our guys and some of the other deputies and that kind of stuff. And to the point where things were happening, like we had a couple of basketball games where we would play with the sheriffs. So the first one we did, it was us versus the sheriffs, and I think you guys beat us.
Yeah, we did.
But you cheated. And so it got to the point where some of the guys would see some of the deputies on the street, and they would know each other, and it was great. I would love to do that again, and if you guys are up for it, maybe we can set something up like that again. I think smaller groups. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather today, so I apologize for that. But I think groups this size would be really productive. I think if it gets a whole lot bigger than this, I think it could be smaller than this, but I think if it gets way bigger than this, then it's not as productive because it's more like a classroom instead of a conversation. And what we're looking for is a conversation, because I think that these guys probably have some questions for you guys, and you guys probably have some questions for them. We may be able to simulate that. I don't know how long we've got them tonight, so we're going to kind of play that by ear. But also because of that relationship that developed, Sheriff Marceno has been a very big supporter of ours from day one. And as you guys know, because I'm transparent with you, we have hit a rough patch financially. And I reached out to 3 different organizations, and the sheriffs were one of them, and so they're here to help. I'll ask, it's the lieutenant, right?
Yeah, Mike is absolutely fine, yeah.
All right, we'll ask Mike. And we all know Sly, of course.
I don't know these cats.
You have easy access.
We
to
know you,
Sly.
Sly. We know you, Sly.
So if you guys have any questions right now for Mike, then fire away. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get donned up and ready for the food tub.
I appreciate you guys, I appreciate you guys inviting me here. This is a huge passion for the sheriff's organization. I promise you that it is. I work in the community response unit, and this is all we do is community outreach stuff. The sheriff started his community outreach, and community outreach is probably one of the sheriff's biggest initiatives, no matter where it's at. And as a part of that, when Ted asked to be helped out, the sheriff was like, absolutely 100%, let's see what we can do. And you know, he was very forthcoming in making sure that we got over here, and I asked Sly to take a ride over here with me too, to make sure that we did the right thing and presenting forward the money that the sheriff feels that you guys deserve to keep this thing going and to keep it afloat a little bit better if we can help.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate the invite, and that ham was good too. Nice. You guys don't know, cops don't turn down free food, man. Never, ever, never.
We thank y'all again, Mike.
Thank you.
We really thank y'all. We appreciate y'all.
I'm told me to wear my shirt when I did it. I'm looking better.
Who's the oldest guy in here? Well, besides you.
Hey, I got a young 52.
You
How old are you?
I'm 31.
31?
Yes, 31. I'm 31.
You're like maybe 40.
Thank you.
I'm 46. I just turned 46. Not too long ago, so.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing. He came, he visited, so he's one of the teachers at Coronado. Sorry to put y'all on blast, but I want to say this because we had a talk and he told me he wanted to come over here to volunteer, spend some of his time here on some Mondays when he can make it, and he made it his business to make it tonight. So I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Give us your 2 cents. Who are you?
My name is Vince Lombardi. Well, they're going to call me next week for the trophy.
Yeah, they're going to go for the trophy.
You have a rest stop named after you in New Jersey.
I'm originally from New York, and I spent about 10 years in New Mexico on the Native American reservations with the Apache and the Navajo.
Oh.
And I did teaching and mentoring and outreach on those reservations. And this seems like a really good fit for me. I've been looking for something to do and volunteer. So I want to do that. I'm 65, I'm about to retire, so this would really be great for me to get involved and do something.
What?
I've been teaching for
You said you're 65?
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm 56. I look 10 years older than you. What's going on?
You didn't volunteer on the reservation? Well, peyote then.
And, well, I have my hearing aids in if anybody needs and this is wonderful. I've been teaching for about 20 years now, and you know, I give up on this kind of stuff. So. I don't know what else you need to know. I mean, I just love being with people and doing what I can for them. So I've got a brother who's got a problem. Whew. So I've been helping him and.
well, we appreciate you for coming. Thank you so much.
for coming very much, man.
So guys, if you had one question, again, same rules. You really want to know the answer, and it needs to be asked respectfully, but if you had one question you could ask these gentlemen, what would it be? Jay.
As a cop, what is the biggest pros and cons that you think you have? Or that you did with?
Being a law enforcement officer?
Yeah.
You go through different changes as your career progresses, right? So early on, one of the biggest cons is schedule, right? A lot of times we work a night shift, wife, kids at home, man, everybody's sleeping all night, and you're out working, right? So that was one of the biggest ones. And believe it or not, a lot of people, I think you ask Sly, was kind of, I'm out there and help the community, right? I'm here to serve and protect, right? And believe it or not, it started for me as a job.
Wow.
Right? I just needed a job. My dad was in law enforcement for a while. I was 32 years old. I really was, man.
It's like,
Yeah, that's the truth, man. There's no doubt about that. So it started as a job for me, and then once you realize you can turn the corner and start making better decisions as you get older and you start maturing a little bit better, and you're like, I got something here, right? And I became pretty good at it. I was good at being a road cop and went on to do a lot of other things since I've been here, but I think those are the biggest two things for me.
when you say you were, was that because of the way you treated citizens, or?
No, I mean I was before I became a law
Oh,
enforcement
okay.
officer. Personally. I wasn't breaking into houses or stealing people's stuff or any of that, but I was living like somebody that definitely was not a law enforcement officer, right? And I had to put some time and distance between my 20s and early 30s before I decided to make a decision like, okay, this is enough. I spent almost 6 years in the Marine Corps, got out, floundered for a little while, didn't really know what I was doing, partying a little bit too much, staying up too late, probably gambling a little bit more than I should have. So there was a time and distance. I was like, man, I gotta do something different here, man. It's not working out. Because I'm telling you, man, I was running it for many years. I was running it, man. And that's where I ended up, and now 16 years here, almost 16 years now in law enforcement. So
Nice.
turning the corner.
Awesome, man. That's good, man.
What is your biggest fear as a cop?
I think everybody knows that answer, right? I think everybody knows, like, the biggest fear is, like, I got 2 kids and a wife to go home to every night, right? Like, that's my goal every day. And a lot of people say no matter what it takes, you go home. I think a lot of us feel that way. I mean, it's not just some rhetoric you hear with guys marching with their Punisher tattoos and their thin blue line flags, right? My life over anybody's. But it's serious business, man. Like, this is a dangerous job. Underwater welding might be a little bit more dangerous. But it's a dangerous job, man. And to me, the most important thing is, I have a 6-year-old daughter. My son's 21, but I need to see my daughter get old, right? And me too. So it's dangerous, but that'd probably be it. Yeah. Sir?
What was the dumbest call you have got?
Oh my God. There's a lot of dumb ones. There are some dumb people out there.
Give me your top 2.
The top one I can remember, a guy, he actually didn't call for the law enforcement, but usually if there's a medical call and law enforcement is nearby, we kind of collectively run the calls together. But we had a guy shove like 12 grapes up his nose, and he had grapes.
Wow.
Stuck in his nose, and he couldn't get them out.
That's impressive.
That was a mess. We had a guy stuck in the ceiling trying to come in through the top of Publix, like stuck, his legs are like dangling from the, just like stuck there. They found him the next morning when the store opened up. He was just hanging.
Wow.
There's some dummies out there. There are some dummies. But we all make mistakes too, right? There are some dumb criminals out there. Yes, sir.
What was your this is real moment?
Oh man, this will take me like 10 minutes to explain this one, but I'll make it quick if I can. We went to a call. There was a guy. His wife called and said, "My husband's trying to kill us." Right? That was how the call came out. And then another neighbor called and said, "Hey, my neighbor's over here trying to rip my front door off of the house and all that." So me and my zone partner, you always have one zone partner. You ride one to a car, but you always work together. You kind of go to calls together and stuff like that. So me and him were like car to car. You ever see cops sitting car to car talking through the door? Call came out like, "Hey, there's guys breaking into houses in the same area." This woman calls and says, "Hey, my husband's trying to kill me." We're like, probably the same person, right? So like, oh my God, it's Friday night. It's not even like midnight yet. Like, that's the way the weekend's gonna start, right? So we get over there, and there was a guy in the street, probably 6'3", 6'4", he weighed about 280 pounds. He was a Romanian guy, naked, no clothes on, bleeding. And he's a big dude. He's a really big dude, man. And he fought us for almost 12 minutes, the two of us, with tasers and asps and everything we could throw at this guy, and he just would not stop fighting. That guy lost his life that night, and there was no gunfire exchange or nothing like that, but that's the moment when it was over. I literally sat Indian style in the middle of the street, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't need this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be doing this. But it was in a moment you're like, why did this guy make me do this tonight, right? And then you live with that for a while and all that stuff. And then it was right in front of his wife and his children who had just called us and said, help us. And then, her husband passed away right in front of him. And
What was he on?
He was on this stuff called DMT. It's like ayahuasca. Somebody help me out, nobody?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca, yeah. So it's like a homemade form of that. He told his wife, I'm gonna die tonight, before he, drank it and kind of went off the deep end. Not doing well, had some problems at home, lost his job, knee surgeries. They were going through foreclosure, bankruptcy, all that stuff. And they found a bunch of steroids too, HGH that he was using too. That's why he was such a big guy. But that was the day I was like, man. I think I was a deputy by myself after like training and all that. 2 weeks. I think it was my second week on.
No way.
Wow.
No way.
I go, what am I doing right now? This is so stupid. Yeah. So, yeah, that was probably the biggest one. He was a big dude. His feet were hanging off the end of the gurney when they loaded him up. He was like, his feet were like hanging off the end. He was such a big dude. Really a big guy. Two of us, all for 12 minutes, till two other deputies showed up, so we could finally get him subdued. He's a big guy. And on drugs. So.
Make them stronger.
Yeah, it made him something. Nothing. He didn't love the feeling nothing. And then think about the stresses of that too. So, you get, when someone passes away in law enforcement custody, the deputies involved go home, right? You get put on admin leave, and then they investigate us, right? So then I'm at home for months. My wife's, we're gonna have a job, we're gonna have insurance, our kids, and all that stuff, right? What they're looking at us, did we do something wrong? So that whole thing, living through the stress of that for months. I was out for 15 weeks. I was out for. It's paid, you're paid while you're
But
out
still,
there. But every day it's questions. What about this? What happened here? What about this? So then you think they're second guessing everything that you're doing, and you just hope that you made the right decisions when things happen like that. Yeah.
With like everything that's like going on in this country in like the last like 10 years, with like Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, and everything, and with all the stereotypes, if you understand about stereotypes, there's some type of truth in it, but it's not all the way true. How do y'all like, deal with the stereotypes of like cops? Like y'all have to, like how do the mechanisms in y'all mind that y'all gotta psych all that stuff out that the media kind of blows up about cops, and kind of continue to be who y'all are and continue to be the best cops y'all are?
I can tell you this, man, that no matter who you are, no matter how you try to turn it off, no matter how long you've been a cop, if you have been a cop, haven't been a cop, Walmart employee, plumber, electrician, everybody has predetermined notions in their head about somebody else, whether it be a race, a creed, a color, religion, where you're from. You have to do the job independent of that, right? And your life experiences set those biases and stereotypes in your brain. Anybody that can say, well, I turn this off and I don't see anything, I don't see color, I don't see race, I don't see everybody does, right? It's right here, right? It's obviously it's in the room, right? But to do the job independently of that and without prejudging someone based on race, creed, color, and all that stuff, it's a really hard thing to do, right? Because we all have life experiences that put something in our brain to make us think a certain way, right? But if you get up every day and you go, I'm gonna do this the fairest way I know how in my mind, right? And I used to tell people this all the time. It's a kind of a stupid question to ask, but I was a sergeant. I was the FTO sergeant. I used to ask some of the newer cops I used to ask them the same question every time. You're sitting in, it's a 3-lane road, right? And you're sitting in the middle in your little cop car and your blue lights, boo boo boo. Car full of young African American kids pull up to your right, playing the song. Same car full of white kids pull up on the left side of you, playing the same song. They both look at you, middle finger, spin the tires, and run the red light. Who are you pulling over?
Slowest one.
What? Great answer, right? That's an easy answer. It's a funny answer, right? But it's a question that people, you don't really think about it that way, right? Because then you go, well, what do you mean? Well, if I pull the car full of black kids over, you seem like I'm being racist. If I pull the white kids over, I'm only pulling them over so they don't think I'm racist pulling over this car, right? But those are the things you have to think about when you do this job every single day, man. How do you separate yourself to just know you're doing the job for the right reasons and you're stopping people for the right reasons, right? And the other thing to your point is that if you don't pigeonhole yourself into one way of thought, right? Like, don't think that one side is 100% this way, because it's the same way as if you do it on the other side, right? Well, all cops are this, right? All young African American males are this way, right? And the next thing you know, you're stuck, and then nobody gets anywhere, right? And these conversations help a lot, man, believe it or not. They really, really do. Turn the news off, right? Form your own opinion about things that are helping you out in this world, man. Things that you see for yourself, not how your friends are reacting. You know, cops are they this and that and the other thing. Well, what do you mean? Well, they said I was selling dope, but were you selling dope? Yeah, but they didn't have to do that. Well, of course you're having negative interaction with law enforcement. You're out there selling dope. You're going to have negative interaction with law enforcement, right? Stop doing that, and your interaction with law enforcement might change, right? And you'll start having some of these positive encounters. So turn the news off, man. Form your own opinion about it. See the world out there. 16 years, I have never, ever once encountered a law enforcement officer do something based on the color of someone's skin or where they were from. It's never happened. If I seen it, I would say something. I've never heard it, and I've never seen it happen. I don't know if Sly can speak to that. He's got about 15 more years than I do.
No, basically it's just, treat everybody. You can't treat everybody equally. You can treat everybody fairly.
Right.
And it's judge more the man instead of the skin color and that type of thing. I speak a lot. I can tell, some guys just don't. I even got family members that don't like the police. But you okay? But the rest of y'all, but that's just the nature of the beast in these times and stuff. A lot of stuff goes back to the '60s. As far as people just distrusting the police and stuff.
Change has to happen. Sometimes change has to happen. Sometimes it takes some BS in the world to make things change, right? Sometimes it's necessary.
Y'all are the focal point. It's like y'all are put in the middle, and then it's like two other.
Who told you that?
Oh no, I'm saying it's like it's cops put in the middle.
Yeah,
and it's like
on both sides.
Yeah, and it's like you have.
Because somebody's got to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Sex sells on TV, right?
It's like
does,
a
right?
tug and pull. Like, okay, which one are you? Are you the bad cop or the good cop? And it's like, I'm just normal. I'm a normal person like you.
Right.
So it's kind of. I think it's kind of tricky for y'all to try to like always be on y'all guard in a way, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, for you, you're a white male, I know that, you know that, and you pull someone like me over, me and you don't want interactions where I think you're doing something because I'm black, and you don't want me to think you're doing this because I'm black.
As an FTO sergeant, I've asked deputies before training, I've said to them, I go, have you let someone go or not give someone a ticket based on the color of their skin? And he's like, what? I go, have you ever let someone go because they were black and you didn't want to have that, somebody, you went up to the window and you started getting that chatter a little bit, rather than doing your job and treating everybody, you've been treating them the same way, you've let them go because they were African American. And he's like, yeah, I've done that before. I go, we can't do that, right? Can't do that.
You can't.
Yeah, you're treating them differently. Well, I let them go. It's the same thing. There's no different, right? Like, you do your job consistently across the board, treat everybody the same way. I'm not saying we got to write everybody tickets or we have to give everybody warnings, but somewhere in the middle is about the right way to go, right? And if you're starting to do things a different way based on people's skin color, it's going to be, you start judging it the other way, on the bad side of it too,
So true.
Alright, so it's not a question, it's really like how should I say this? It happened to me.
Oh.
So basically I was with my friends, we weren't doing nothing illegal, we was at a stop sign. Do you know what, you do know what gang unit is, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
I was on it for a little while.
So they rode past us, stopped in the middle of the road, but we were waiting for them to pass so we can go. They stopped in the middle of the road, took a deep look into the car. We weren't doing nothing illegal, everybody had their license, their insurance, the car was insured.
Where were you at?
We were by Lafayette.
Okay.
And then they just stopped mid-traffic, boom. and looked deep into the car, like rolled down their windows and looked like trying to see what was going on in the car. And then they slowly pulled off. And then when we went to the stars, they came back around, stopped again, and looked at the car. They were just like, I was just confused, and I was just wondering, do you have any comment on that? Like,
I can't speak to what another guy was doing in the middle of the night. What time was it?
it was like just getting out of school, like 3:30.
Yeah. I wish I knew what they were doing, man. Who knows? You know, what color was the car?
It was a gray Nissan.
What if earlier that day it was a gray Nissan that committed a robbery? Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know what he was doing, but sometimes there's something to it. Sometimes it's just cops are nosy, man. That's how we get bad guys off the street sometimes, right? Now I'm saying there's a right way to do it. But
And another thing is, we was wrestling in my front yard, and the cop was like, "Oh, we're just bored," and just pulled over, like it was
to
six
watch
of
you
them.
guys wrestle?
No, he watched us wrestle. Like he thought we were real deal fighting.
Oh, he did.
And I was like, "Dang, y'all pulled up 6 deep." He's like, "Yeah, we're bored." I was like, "I can tell."
Was that FMPD or was it LCSO?
That was for my police department.
I'm gonna tell you guys this one story, and I'm gonna have to get out of here in a little bit, but real fast. Traffic stop out in Lehigh. 3 guys in the car, 3 black guys in the car. As soon as I got to the window, I started getting the MFers. Mom, this is the giving it, right? I go, everybody chill out, man. I go, you have to earn a ticket from me. You're starting to earn one. Just relax. Let me do what I gotta do. Driver suspended 3 times, been caught 2 times. This is his 3rd time getting pulled over for driving on a suspended license. Got 2 prior convictions. What's the 3rd one?
Jail.
It's a felony, right? You gotta go to jail for that. It's a felony. It's the third
wow.
conviction is a felony, right?
I never knew that. It's the first time I knew that.
So I'm at the window. I go, "What are you driving?" I said, "What are you driving for, man?" He's like, "Look, I just went to the grocery store. My wife doesn't have a license. You let me take the car." I got caught. He had groceries in the back seat of the car and all that stuff. So where do you live at? He's like, "I'm 2 blocks up the road." I said, "Listen, man. I go, I'm out here all the time. I go, I'm gonna follow you to the house." I said, "Don't let me see you driving no more." It was literally that simple. All right, cool. So I follow the guy to the house, get out. He gets out of the car. He shakes my hand. We're standing there talking. I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes about nothing, right? Get back in my car and I go back to the exact same spot where I was doing traffic stops at, and a robbery came out, right? And as I'm sitting there, I see the bad guy run across 8th Street where I was sitting. I go, "Oh, here he is right here." Get on the radio, do a little cop thing, right? So I get in I'm starting my car and I'm driving. He sees me, I see him. I jump out of the car and I start chasing him on foot. Through the driveway, into the garage, into this house. Through the driveway, through the garage, into the house. There's a couch here, sliding. People put their couches like against sliding glass door. Mm-hmm. He goes behind the sliding glass door, kind of falls. I jump on top and we're fighting behind the couch, right? And I turn around and I look up and there's 2 guys standing behind me. Like, "What the F y'all doing in my house?" Blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him, he goes, the same guy had just let go.
What?
Driving on suspended driver's license. I'm in his house fighting with this guy that just committed a robbery. He kind of like pulls me away and they beat the shit out of that kid back there behind his house. Behind his couch, man. They wore that dude out. They're like, "You got your handcuffs?" He's like, you go ahead and put him in handcuffs. Yeah, and it's those interactions where you go, I probably got a friend for life now from that guy, from not taking him in jail. And next thing you know, they're like, "We got this, man." They beat the dog shit out of that. They did. I was like, look, we was letting them have it. Not 10 minutes, but not 10, 15 minutes later on, man. That's a true story. So
That's a great
so I'm
story.
saying, man, when you try to treat people good, man, it comes back around. I've been that way my whole career for 16 years. You just try to do the right thing, the best you can. Sometimes we get it wrong, right? Yeah. Sometimes we get it wrong. Yeah. Sometimes, a lot of times, we get it wrong. Just like they ring up the wrong price at Walmart, right? Or the slow lines, or the Publix employees and something like that. Sometimes we get it wrong. Sure. Sometimes when I leave at 4:30 in the morning, my wife's pissed off because I didn't finish doing the dishes last night, and so I'm catching hell before I even get in my patrol car in the morning. You get start hearing that, man. And you're driving down the road. You're like, kids are late for school, got no shoes, going to work in detail, short on electric bill this month. We got the same problems, man. The same exact problems everybody else does, man. Sometimes just a bad day.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Sure.
So, as a younger man, you were not the model citizen.
Yeah.
And,
I wasn't evil either. I just was somewhere along the middle.
In the middle, borderline.
I was like borderline. I was in the gray a lot.
So we'll chalk some of that up at least to being young.
Yeah, immaturity. Yeah.
So now when you pull over young men, let's say in that age range, do those memories come back and you think, all right?
100%. I have probably let way more people go than I've ever taken to jail, given tickets to, probably even when I shouldn't have. You know, like, I remember, I'm 46 now, I've been in Lehigh, I was out in Lehigh since I was about 6 or 7 years old. I don't live there now, but my whole life is out there, right? And that's where I spent most of my career on road patrol, was out in Lehigh. And I was seeing the same people doing the same shit I was doing in my 20s, you know, out in the woods partying, this kind of stuff, you know, hanging out and all that stuff. And it helped me, man. Like I said, I think everybody should wait a couple years before they get into this, you know. Getting in there too young, man, can, I don't know. Sometimes law enforcement is it's a Hippocratic bubble that we live in sometimes, you know, where like, well, you know, we're pulling you over for speeding, and you know, every cop speed too, I bet. Yeah, you're damn right I do. Of course, you know, we're not there, 25 and a 25. You know, it's not the reality of it, right? And it's really not. That's the truth behind it. But we try to do the best we can to get it right every single time, but we don't always get it right. And then sometimes when we really get it wrong is what you see on the news. And the people that suffer the consequences for that deserve every single bit of it. You know what I mean?
So you said you started off because you needed a job. Why, out of all jobs, why you chose that one?
My dad was a cop. Right? So he's like, hey, you know, hey boy, like, time to get your shit together, right? I go, all right, I guess so.
You got the Marine Corps behind you.
Yeah, I had the Marine Corps behind me a little bit. That wasn't even enough to kind of tighten me up a little bit, you know? And I was like, okay, and we start, you know, turn the corner, and then, all right, now 47, 46, about 47.
Well, thank you for your time, man.
I appreciate you guys.
No, I'm not saying for here. I'm saying.
Yeah, no worries. I'm very open. I'll tell anything. I have nothing to hide, man.
I'm not saying for here. Like we appreciate you for coming here for the checks, but the years that you guys put in,
Appreciate
like you
that.
guys like you put your lives on the line. So appreciate that highly from you guys.
No worries. No
Thank you
worries.
for what you do.
Invite us back, man. You know, to have a little, whatever you guys need.
Every Monday night we're here.
Whatever you guys need, let us know.
Yeah.
No worries. I appreciate the invite. My wife and kids are gonna be home yelling at me pretty soon if I don't go down there.
I know that.
I appreciate you guys. Slide, you got something to do too, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the invite. The ham was great. Them brownies or something else, man. I'll take some of that. Appreciate you guys.
Who made these brownies?
Good to meet you guys, man.
Hold on, Mike.
Yes, sir.
It's a crime for making them brownies. You need to arrest one of them for making them brownies the way they made them.
He said arrest brownies. I'm gonna take one of my daughters.
Oh my goodness.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, why you need my brownies?
Let us know if you ever need anything.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Again, Ted, thanks you guys.
So one year after we had this, it was called Badges and Buckets. We had this basketball game with the police. I went to go. This was when I still lived up in the downtown area. I went to go pick somebody up who was staying with me, and I picked him up from Michigan. He had been visiting his girlfriend, so I picked him up, and you know that like little side pull off of Michigan, where like so if you don't go inside, but you just kind of pull off of Michigan. So I had pulled off there, and I was sitting there waiting for him. So he got out, he came out, got in my car. So I pulled out, and he said, watch out for that cop. And I hadn't even seen the cop, but he was sitting there. And I said, he's not interested in us. And he said, yes, he is. So we passed the cop, and sure enough, the cop gets out, gets behind us. We're driving along. I'm like, okay, now he's waiting for me to do something wrong so he can pull me over and see if I got drugs or whatever, right? So that's kind of the method that they use, even if it's something stupid. So sure enough, I don't know. I knew I was being followed. I knew what they were waiting for, and I still forgot to use my directional at a stop sign. So he pulls me over, comes over to the car, and this was FMPD, not the sheriff's office. And I think, I forget if it was me or Terry that was wearing the Badges and Buckets shirt, but he started talking to us and he noticed the shirt. And he said, were you at that game? And Terry said, yeah, I played in that game. He said, yeah, I did too. And they had a brief exchange, and the guy said, you guys be careful. He walked away and got back in his cruiser. So I'm not saying that us having a relationship with the police is gonna get you off of tickets. But I am saying that, you know, those relationships build trust and they build, you know, good feelings towards people. And, you know, that guy knew that if Terry was part of that basketball game, that he was part of an organization that was doing something good. And I'd like to believe that that's why he let him off, so.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely, yeah.
I did teaching on the Apache reservation, and the Apache people are still very bitter, and there's generational scars there. So they really don't trust anybody except themselves. And here's this white guy coming to teach their children American history, and it was really tough. And they didn't talk to me or didn't acknowledge me for 2 years. I mean, I say hello to people and they just walk away. Or I'd be standing in the grocery store and right behind me they'd be talking shit about me and how this white man's here to do stuff. And I had to earn my stripes. And after 2 years, I finally got a hello from one of my students, because I was teaching 11th grade. And I got a hello, and then another hello. And after the end of the third year of school, they started to include me in conversations. So it takes a long time to have this shift in attitude about other people or people that don't look like you or look like your culture. And you begin to wonder, am I doing something wrong? Are they suspicious of me? Or is it just the way things are set up? So it was a lesson to me to, you know, kind of just keep it low and let what your good deeds do show for you. And it was an eye-opening experience, because you don't realize it until you're in the grocery store and nobody wants to help you. You know, what the hell is going on here? So
It takes a long time to build that trust.
A long time.
Long time, yeah. And it takes 1 second to get rid of it.
One bad grade or one discipline, and that was it for a couple of weeks, you know, a couple of months.
In court city today, I had brought up pick up the ball, and the judge was like, that's what really got me off. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell your story how you got off on
oh,
the floor?
she said. So they had called my name. They had read my charge out loud, and then she looked at me and asked the lady about like my background, and she was like, "It's not nothing's in the system. It's first offense." She looked at me, looked at the people, looked at me again, and then she was like, "Case is missing." And then something about some community service. I could have did community service hours or something like that. And then I said I'm gonna pick up the ball. I sometimes do community service. She was like, I'm glad you're in a program like that. I felt some type of way that you were in a program or something like that. Something of that nature. I was just happy to get off of that case. I was great. I was glad. So happy. She was staring into my soul the whole time. Thought she was gonna sentence me to 50 years. That's what judges do.
So did you get the impression she had heard of pick up the ball?
I think so, cause like she was, looked at me like this. So I really think pick up the ball really did help me in that case.
Well, hopefully it'll help you not get in a situation
Oh, yeah,
where you have to deal with the judge.
Oh, that's believe. I'm not going back. Them handcuffs was a little too tight. I learned my lesson.
TJ?
I would just want to comment. I think it's very admirable that you stuck with, you know, your job and to be able to do it diligently and not, you know, change the way that you interact with, you know, a different culture of kids, because that's not a lot of, I would say, not a lot of people would have done that. You know, they'll probably got a job change or they'll probably switch, you know, to other profession. So it's admirable that you do that. And I would say, you know, as an African American, it's not so much like, oh, we like despise white people, or we, you know, I think it's so much of just the history, that so much of what happened here, that it's like, all right, we gotta see how you are before we open up. You know what I mean? And there's so many documentaries and movies that they promote, and we see this horrible stuff that happened, that even us as African Americans, we can't just say on the modern day white people that that's you. Like we can't put all that on things that the Caucasians did back then. We can't put that on you. So I would just say even for people like you or for any human being to be able to find the beauty or admire another race and to understand that different is good instead of bad, I think that's a beautiful thing. So I really want to commend you for really doing your job diligently, because there are not a lot of teachers like you. But with me being in school, there's not a lot of teachers like you. It's like 3 out of the 50 teachers in the school, and you're one of the 3. That's probably so I really applaud you.
It's interesting you made that comment because not so much the Apache, but the Navajo would have the same thing to say to me. There's a lot of scars that happen to Native Americans. The same kind of trauma, generational trauma that carries on and on and on. And if I didn't love teaching, I probably wouldn't have done it. But that's my calling. That's why I'm here, to be a teacher. And that's what kind of got me through. It was tough. I mean, I go to the grocery store and you can't find any food, or nobody wants to help you, so you just have to believe in yourself that you can make a change in the world.
Only comes from Christ. Only. It doesn't come from me. I can't make myself peace. I can't give myself peace. If it was, I'd be a peaceful person always, but I can't. So that's why I rely on my source. So understanding me being connected with Ted, him being a Christian, and him seeing him walk into his calling helps me to know and walk in my calling, which my calling is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's my calling. My calling isn't to be a preacher, but to tell young men like you, I don't gotta be in a church to tell people about Christ. I don't gotta be in a church to even show you love. That's Christ, bro. Before anything, if I can't show you love, if I can't show Pukadu love, if I can't show none of y'all love, nothing I say about biblically does not matter. I can't tell you about David or Job or anybody if I can't show you love. You feel what I'm saying? That's my #1 thing I am called to do. And I'm going to do that to my best ability. You feel what I'm saying?
What made me get an outlook of like you can change your life was Matt, Pastor Matt goes over. I remember when he started, he was a volunteer. I was there with Gray Foshi. 10 years ago. I remember he was not the match I know now, he wasn't that years ago. He wasn't. I'll be honest. And he got out of the Navy, he moved from Cali. I remember that. And when I see how God changed his life, it gets me every time because it just shows how good he is. A lot of people don't understand we're getting up in age now. We get 26, 27 now. You don't understand, when you're young, you're gonna go through a lot. I just want y'all to understand. Y'all gonna go through a lot. Y'all gonna question a lot. But let me tell you something. Get in that Bible and understand it. I promise you that will be the best way so y'all don't have to, because the map is literally in that book. Literally. The map is in that book. I promise you. I promise you. You're gonna go through something, but at the end of the day, God gonna show you how good he is at the end of the day. And that's a promise. Look how he's standing up. They lost a lot of good friends, good brothers, man. I don't know if y'all don't believe in Jesus Christ, but I'm telling you, man. Yes, he is the way.
Yeah, I just want to add a little nickel and dimes. Before I started with Pick Up the Ball, I was working moving furniture, but I've been working my whole life. So Ted and y'all made a good point about having a job, because job will literally show you who you are and what you can be. So I was working for a while with Pickup Express, and I wasn't wasn't happy. I wasn't at a place where I feel like this is what I love to do. He said it. They all said it. This is what I love to do. I was just doing it for a check. And when you're in a place where you're just doing it for a check, it's like, nah. So I had decided, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave and I'm just gonna step out by faith, right? Christ. So I said, I'm gonna step out by faith. Lord, I don't know where I'm going, but I just wanna serve people. I wanna serve people. That's where I find my fulfillment at. Me going to Coronado, sharing with the young men, oh my goodness, man. That's like $1 million to me. Money can't buy that. Money cannot buy that. Me going to Coronado, sharing with young men, having a relationship, right? Bringing him to volunteer. Money can't buy that relationship. So when I started doing that, I got with Ted, and what's better to get with Ted to deal with young men. That's my fulfillment. And I can do this. Listen, I don't got to get paid and I can do this for free. I mean, of course, money going to get scarce. I got a family, I got a wife, and I got kids. But God is my provider, right? So my main thing is doing something I love. Whether it means if it ain't money coming in, I'm doing something I love because it's fulfillment to the heart. It's fulfillment to my heart. He could have went and like made way more money, right? Ted was making I tell him Ted was making 6 figures. Y'all don't know what 6 figures is, don't you? He shut it down because he shut that down because he said that's not my fulfillment. I got an architecture firm. I'm doing my thing, but it's not fulfilling. It's not my purpose. And Ted stopped doing what he was doing, and he said, I want to do this. And 10 years, he's in it for 10 years now, right? Faithfully, he's in it for 10 years now, and this is what it's about, guys. When you find a job, it's going to show you who you are and what you want to be. But you got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And getting a job lets you know who you are. It's going to show you what type of person you is, whether you're consistent or inconsistent, whether you call up a lot or whether you don't call up a lot, whether you give your employer a hard time or whether you don't. It's going to show you the person you really are by getting a job. So starting to get a job is going to lead you to your purpose. I truly believe in my heart. When you start, it doesn't matter if it's at McDonald's. Look at Tim. I'm going to take you guys to Tim's office one day. I'm going to take y'all to his office one day. He started off sweeping the floor at McDonald's. And look at him. So it doesn't matter where you start, man. It's going to lead you to your purpose. Just keep on on.
Antonio.
Yes.
You had volunteered, you had worked at the old folks home.
Yes, sir.
And then you worked moving
Pickup
furniture.
Express.
Which one did give you a lot more fulfillment?
Which one gave me? Living facility.
Absolutely.
Oh my
because you're giving
goodness.
back.
Oh my goodness.
And not saying that everything you have to do in life is giving back, but you need to find, as you work on these things and as you find your passion, you knew that you love that. That's why you love going back there. And you want to share that experience with these young
Yes.
And because it is. When we're young, we have a tendency to think, we look in the mirror and that's the only thing we see is me. And as you grow, you start to learn, especially if you start having a family, you guys know that.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly, nothing is about me. It's about my family and my loved ones. And that's really the difference between a boy and a man.
Ooh. There you go.
It's a huge difference. And sometimes you're 50 years old before you figure that out.
That's real.
But when you do, you suddenly, your life changes and you view things through a different lens. Speaking of lens, we got a great photographer over here.
Samuel?
Oh, I'm sorry,
So
Samuel.
true, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Eric.
Speaking on me finding purpose, I found purpose as a blacksmith and engraving because in middle school I was going through a lot of my parents' divorce and there was a lot of domestic abuse. My mom was taking pills, my dad was doing a lot of drugs. So I wanted to take a break from all that, you know, there was no water, no electricity, etc. So one day during middle school, my mother told me that my uncle had cancer in Scandinavia. So I went to go see him because, you know, he's not going to be there forever. So when I went to go see him, he taught me how to blacksmith, he taught me how to engrave, he taught me how to do woodwork. taught me all these wonderful things. And it was a very neat experience because, you know, it made me really happy that my uncle would leave this world with a smile on his face, knowing that his legacy would continue. Came here, I'm from Scandinavia. When I came back to America in Florida, he had a lot of supplies. He had a lot of ingots of diagnostics of metal and smelters and anvils, all that fun stuff. And I didn't have access to that because I didn't have money. So when I came back here, I thought to myself really hard. I was like, what can I do? Because I learned this amazing talent from my uncle, and he left the world, and I want to show him that I can do it.
Wow.
And I eventually did, but I thought to myself, like, I don't have any of these supplies. What do I need to do? So in Florida, I thought about people who hunt boar. And I first started making hunting knives for them. And I would source the metal, you know, the railroads, you know, the big railroad pins?
Yes.
I'd smelt them down, and I'll make them into knives. And then I would, engrave the handles into wood, and I would sell them. And then sooner or later, I made a lot of friends in the hunting community, and they got word around me. I got a job for making swords and armor for the medieval times. And I made a lot of friends, a lot of businesses, and now I don't have to worry about electricity, no food in the fridge, because I live on my own now. In my own apartment.
Wow, man. God dang. Wow. Wow.
And then when I looked up, I just, you know, it's kind of pondering, you know, what else is there to do now, you know, and looking into schools and whatever, you know, because, you know, this is 20th century. This isn't 1600s. Nobody buys swords.
Right.
They do, but a lot of people who come into the workshop and they ask for swords are big-time collectors, people who hunt. They ask for knives, they ask for armor, all that stuff. Currently, right now, I'm currently working on link fabricants of chainmail. It's very hard to make. You have to forge every single chain link and put them together.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very hard. You have to make them smaller and smaller so they stop more and more stuff. And I'm working on it now. Sooner or later I'm going to get to it, but it's very difficult. And then after all that, I was like, you know, I just want to look into school, and I was like, what is something that I could possibly do? I thought about welding, I thought about trade school, but it just, I don't know, it seemed too, you know, straightforward. And then recently I looked up gunsmithing, and then I was looking into that, but I don't know, it's not the same. You know, maybe if I can engrave them for hunters or something, I could find that, but it's very hard, not here in Florida. You have to go to like Texas or somewhere else for that. But yeah, I don't know, just one day I just
start casting your own barrels and everything else. Especially, there's a lot of collectors for you know, the old traditional flintlocks and even percussion locks, things like that.
Yeah.
And there's some very fine metallurgy, metal work that's done on them.
Yeah, very fine engraving and metal work. Yeah.
Well, and if you're actually making the locks as well,
exactly.
that's you're a clockworker, which is where the original
You're an
locks
artist.
for the old guns came from.
That's so true.
You're
I
an
didn't think
artist.
about that.
People that made locks.
I don't know, it's a great talent, you know, I'm blessed to have this. You know, not a lot of people nowadays can do this type of stuff. It's very rare. I'm thankful for my uncle for doing that to me, you know, before he passed away. That was sad. It was a sad day. You know,
Sorry to hear that.
my mother lost her brother, and I lost my uncle.
Sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. Man, thank you for coming, man, sharing that, man. This your first day here, man. So usually we don't have students that speak on their first day. You know, it's first time, but you speaking, and we appreciate that, man. I learned something new tonight. I've learned something new tonight. When I went to Coronado, I said, by a show of hands, who got their own, because I was I'm telling them we learned budgeting, because you could live on your own. So I said, by a show of hands, who got their own place? Me thinking, saying, oh, all right, nobody's going to raise their hand. He said, I live by myself. But now I see why. You're able to live by yourself. So that's nice, man.
During, what was it? The hurricane, what was it called?
Irma? Oh, Ian. Irma was way long ago.
So,
Yeah.
Around where I live is more near downtown. A lot of houses got torn up.
Oh.
And so what I did was, some of the people, you know, were older and they couldn't do stuff. I forged them hurricane shutters. And I started giving them out. And I started fixing people's shutters and walls and metal. I thought if I knew how to do it, why not help people who can't afford it?
Wow, that's nice.
because FEMA wasn't really helping a lot of people. They're only helping people with moving. Sometimes they would give people with more money the money they don't need, and they wouldn't give the people who didn't have money and couldn't fix their trailer.
That is so true, man.
I looked at it and I was like, you know what? Once upon a time, I was poor. You know, it was just how it is, and I helped them
Wow.
out of the kindness of my heart.
Appreciate that. And I really hope, keep me posted. I really hope that one day you can get back to your family. Because I know that's a purpose you would love to fulfill.
I would love to go back to Scandinavia and forge, just like my uncle.
And be with your family. Oh, well, wow. Well, we keep your hopes up. He's down here by himself. Wow. Wow. Man, that's some good stuff, man. That's some good stuff. Anybody else got anything?
You put love out there, you get love back.
Yes. 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 Agreed.
But you'll never know, you might tell somebody else.
But
I'm only 15.
literally last month was my 18th birthday, and I thought, what would I do? And then
He's young.
Just like making a lot of friends and forging and all that stuff, I was able to get free tickets to. You guys know what jousting is?
Yeah.
So we knock them off.
Run into each other.
Yeah.
Medieval times.
And my cousin, I've done other things with the horse, but I've never, did jousting with him. And his name is Yorn. It's my cousin's horse. And I rode him out, and so before the thing, I was like, you know what? Instead of getting all the regular equipment, why don't I just design my own equipment? So I made my own saddle, I made my own armor and flagging for my own horse. And then I took it into the tournament. I did pretty good. I got 4th place in that tournament out of 13 nights. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was a fun day. I turned 18 that day. That was a fun day.
Wow.
I tell you what, when you're jousting and getting hit by the stick, hitting the floor hurts more a lot than the stick.
I don't want to have that. I don't want to know what that feels like.
Some people get stuck on the thing that wraps around your leg when you're riding the horse. So they get stuck and they hang off and they get kicked right in the face with the horse. Yeah.
I don't want that smoke. I'll say that for you.
With that being said, guys, let's clean up. I appreciate y'all for coming, man. Thank y'all so much. We're back at it next Monday at 6:30.
And thank you for this wonderful
Food. Thank you for the food. Brent, thank you for the cameraman. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank you, Moody, for coming. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel.